Everyone in the room heard the laughter, but only one boy felt the sting of it. In a hall filled with billionaires, politicians, and cameras flashing like lightning, a black child stood alone, humiliated for speaking the truth. He said he knew 8 languages. A billionaire CEO mocked him, called him a liar, and the audience chuckled like his dreams were a joke. For a moment, even Jaylen believed he had made a mistake coming there. But then, something inside him broke open, and when he finally spoke, the laughter died so quickly that the silence felt like a slap. This is the moment a child shattered a billionaire's pride and exposed something far deeper. The International Global Minds Summit was supposed to be a celebration of innovation, intelligence, and the future. Giant screens glowed with world flags, translators whispered into headsets, and every step echoed on flawless marble floors. It was the kind of place where people treated intelligence like currency and status like oxygen. 12-year-old Jaylen Carter walked in quietly beside his mother, Dr. Alicia Carter, clutching a small notebook that never left his hands. He wasn't wealthy, famous, or dressed in designer clothes. But he had something else, a mind that caught languages the way others caught melodies. His mother knew he was special, but even she didn't know just how much. Dr. Carter, a respected researcher in computational linguistics, was invited to present on global communication. She brought Jaylen not for show, but because he loved listening to different accents, rhythms, and cultures. To him, languages weren't difficult, they were like puzzles waiting for him to solve. But the moment they entered, the atmosphere shifted. Some people smiled politely, others looked at Jaylen like he didn't belong. In a room where power was everything, a black child was easy to dismiss. Even Jaylen felt small, until he overheard conversations in German, then Arabic, then Mandarin, and realized he could understand every word. It made him smile silently. He didn't know that soon, the entire world would hear him speak, and nothing would ever be the same again. It happened during a networking break, when guests swarmed around Dr. Carter after her presentation. Jaylen stood beside her, listening quietly, invisible to most, until Victor Hale arrived. Victor wasn't just a billionaire. He was the kind of man whose ego entered a room before he did. Famous for crushing competitors and bragging about building empires. He believed respect was something only money could buy. His eyes landed on Jaylen with mild irritation. "And who is this?" he asked, as if the boy were a misplaced object. "My son," Dr. Carter replied politely. "He's passionate about languages." Victor smirked, holding his drink like a crown. Languages? Kids these days can't even write a proper sentence. A few people laughed, not because it was funny, but because they were scared not to. Jaylen lowered his eyes, nervous. Victor leaned closer, voice dripping with arrogance. "So, little man, how many languages do you think you know?" 2? 3? Jaylen whispered. 8. The group froze. Victor's laugh exploded through the room, loud enough to turn heads. 8 languages? At your age? Please, don't embarrass yourself. Or your mother. Someone whispered, "He's just a kid." Another added, "Probably lying for attention." Jaylen's throat tightened. His hands trembled. He wasn't used to being called a liar. His mother touched his shoulder gently, but even she sensed the room turning against him. Victor lifted his chin triumphantly, ready to move on. But then Jaylen stepped forward. His heart pounded so loudly it filled his ears. He didn't want to prove anyone wrong. He just wanted the laughter to stop. So he took a breath, opened his notebook, and let his gift speak for him. The first words came out in French, smooth and natural, shocking the room into stillness. Then he shifted into Spanish, fast and rhythmic. Before anyone could recover, he moved to Arabic, every sound crisp and flawless. People gasped. When he spoke Mandarin, a woman from Beijing covered her mouth in disbelief. When he spoke German, a linguist whispered, "My God, he's perfect." When he spoke Swahili, a Kenyan ambassador stepped closer, eyes wide. Then came Italian, warm and expressive. And finally, Japanese, soft yet precise. 8 languages, 8 perfect transitions, 8 reasons the room forgot how to breathe. Victor's grin collapsed instantly. His face drained of color. His drink trembled in his hand until droplets spilled onto the marble floor. Jaylen's voice, once timid, now echoed with quiet power. When he finished, the room erupted, but not in laughter. In stunned awe. Phones rose. Cameras flashed. People whispered his name like it belonged to history. Then the summit president, one of the most influential men alive, walked forward. He looked Victor dead in the eye before turning to Dr. Carter. "Your son is extraordinary," he said, "and his brilliance will take our global education initiative to places we never imagined." Victor's eyes widened. That initiative was supposed to be his ticket to global recognition. He tried to recover quickly. "Alicia, I was only teasing the boy. Maybe we can discuss partnering." The president cut him off sharply. "Victor, we don't partner with people who belittle children to feel powerful." The humiliation hit harder than a slap. In that moment, Victor Hale, billionaire, mogul, empire builder, had been defeated not by a corporation, not by a rival CEO, but by a 12-year-old black boy with a notebook. The crowd surrounded Jaylen, praising him, admiring him, asking questions he was too shy to answer. But he kept looking at his mother, searching her face for reassurance. She knelt beside him, cupped his cheek, and said softly, "You didn't silence him to prove your worth. You silenced him because the truth always rises, no matter who tries to bury it." Outside the summit hall, the world felt different. Warm, brighter. Jaylen wasn't walking, he was floating, still overwhelmed but strangely proud. As they reached the exit, he tugged his mother's sleeve. "Mom, did I do something wrong?" She smiled, eyes shining. "You did everything right. Today, the world learned something important." Behind them, Victor stood alone in the conference hall, staring at the spot where Jaylen had stood. For the first time in his life, money couldn't save him. His arrogance had been exposed. His laughter had become his downfall. But the story wasn't his to carry. It belonged to the boy. A boy who proved that brilliance has no age. A boy who proved that talent has no color. A boy who turned humiliation into history. And as the doors closed behind them, Jaylen didn't just walk out of the building. He walked into a future where no one would ever underestimate him again. Because in 2 minutes, he taught the room and the world one unforgettable truth. Genius can come from anywhere, and sometimes the smallest voice carries the biggest power. ****